Hi, welcome to How to Be a Humane Leader Without Losing Your Job. Dive deep into humane leadership crafted for today's fast-paced business world. Listen to our podcast on all major streaming platforms and join us as we explore the essence of humane leadership in today's dynamic business landscape. I'm Roberto Torres, a seasoned startup engineering leader, alongside Chris Ollerton, a Fortune 100 ITD leader. Today, we will discuss how to cope with frustration when your boss asks for a deliver with unrealistic dates. You deliver, and your boss won't even say thank you. Hi, sir. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good, Roberto. I hope all things are well down there in Mexico. Things here in Tennessee are finally starting to cool off. Summer's kind of starting to wind down, but the business environment's still hectic. How about you?
Well, here in Mexico City, it's rainy season, so it's been very flooding lately. And since we are in a very close to a worldwide recession, it's kind of hectic as well.
Well, I hope the economy turns out well for all of us and our listeners. And, bosses our bosses and humane leaders are different than those. So hopefully most of our viewers get to experience a humane leader. But as you mentioned in your introduction, there are a lot of bosses, right? Where they just push, 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 and then you deliver and they just don't even acknowledge your existence. You basically busted your back, getting things done, and they don't seem to care. What do you do when that happens to you?
Yeah, well, it is really kind of frustration because it is not only I, it is also my team, which it is involved in delivering this. I think it is a tough situation because if you know that you have a boss and you've been working for that boss a lot of time, you know how this person works. You know what to expect, what not to expect. So it's a better work or better game of frustration over here. It's not, it won't be a surprise. But what happens when you are at a new company or a new department and you have a new boss, and this one uh, asks you for an unrealistic date for a deliver, and it happens like this. Maybe you will feel a lot of frustration about it, but the most important thing is not what you thought you will have from this boss, but what you felt that this was an accomplishment by you and your team to deliver. And to cope with frustration is to communicate with your team and to say, yes, we did. It is not like, oh man, we didn't have this cheer words from our boss. No, yes, we did. Because why? Because we are a great team, because uh, we skyrocket. I think that is the way that I would have done it.
Yeah, I think I'll put some words in your mouth and say what you were doing is shielding your team from the boss by being a humane leader. That's what I would call that doing. And to praise a team when they've done really good work, and let's just suppose, economic conditions, whatever, you don't have the ability to use financial thank yous. Use your time. Sit down with each of them individually. Tell them about the part of the project that you feel they did really fantastic work on, and congratulate them on a one-to-one basis. And then when you have a team meeting, you know, spend some time praising the team, highlighting the things that really went well. It's probably not a good time to bring up, all right, 9 things went great and 1 went bad. Don't bother bringing up the one bad one. focus on those 9 good things, praise the team, and spend and invest some time in enjoying that success. That's what's going to make the humane leader. The boss says, good, you got it done. Here's the next thing. Put it on the pile, get going. And since you did that one so good, I'm shortening this next one by another 10% compared to the last one. When that boss doesn't realize there was a bunch of overtime involved, people gave up going to family events or something to get it done, and it's not sustainable. This isn't a repeatable, Herculean super effort. You just cannot maintain those kinds of things. And if the boss has a short-term mindset, meaning, look, they don't care if a bunch of people quit. It's just day to day. I got to have a success because I'm trying to move up the corporate ladder. And I may not even stay with the company more than 3 years because I'm trying to move up to be the super vice president of, widgets. With that kind of boss, you're just going to have to grin and bear it until they're gone. And in my experience, I did observe a lot of that happening where these people stayed in the company less than 3 years. They stayed in a role less than 9 months because they kept basically beating up their employees and then taking all the success and saying they did it and then move to another job real quick before people realized the team couldn't do that 3 times in a row because they'd all quit. That's a boss versus a humane leader. The humane leader says, look, this is a special effort. We got a bunch of stuff we got to get done, but then we're going to settle back to normal. And I'm even going to give you some comp time off, to make up for the fact that you missed your kid's ball game for the next 2 ones. You're going to be there in time for the first pitch. You do things like that as the humane leader because you're in it for the long run. Bosses not in it for the long run.
Oh, no. No, as you mentioned, they will jump, they will go faster in the ladder, and you will stay. And because you will stay, your team has to be, no, you will have to be the foundation for your team well-being as much as you can. You cannot go in a personal way, but at work, yes. And we have spoke before. Maybe there will be a recognition by your boss, but you did something to your team besides recognition. You could provide maybe a day out of work, or you could provide maybe a home office, or if it's possible, bring something to the table that your team will see that there is something valuable over here. And don't feel bad about this. One thing that I have seen and has happened to me before is that the credit of doing this amazing work, the boss takes it away from the team and never mentions. It's like, yes, I did this, I managed this, and I'm a super rock star. If this happens, remember to the team who were the real heroes, who were the real rock stars over here, and try and taking your words, doing these one-on-ones to let them know that yes, this person has its own personality, but that team is amazing, and that the next challenge we will succeed at deliver. So I think rather than pointing out the hard skills used in this, we had to focus on the soft skills because it's not only frustration. It might be other soft skills. We might be hurt for the team, and we have to level up those ones.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I realized as we've been talking, we're talking about how we're dealing with these unrealistic goals and this, basically the bad boss up above us. I do think that if you can, early in the process, is to try and give that bad boss as many facts about why the deadline might face challenges. All right. I've never found it successful to say, look, you want it by, September 15th. That's just not realistic. We need to put that date at like October 15th. Let's suppose it's doubling the time of the request. That's usually not a good strategy in dealing with the boss, because the boss just dictates, doesn't negotiate. But instead say, okay, all right, to get it to that date, September 15th versus October 15th, I'll need an extra $10,000. Don't, start with all right, no, you can't have any more money. Okay, well, then the challenge is going to be some of the features may not work. Start to point out where the failures might be early. Say, we're going to do our best, but I just want you to be aware, these are like the top 5 things that might go wrong. So then as you're doing status updates to the boss, you can mention, as I mentioned before, I was concerned that we wouldn't have enough time to do scaled performance testing. And now we're reaching close to the deadline and we still don't have the utility set up to be able to do scaled performance testing. So if we go live September 15th, our spaces for hosting the meeting may not work correctly. And as Elon Musk found out scaling up his spaces, first he did a big interview with Tucker Carlson. It was just pure too many people tried to join simultaneously. All right, he was prepared for that. He did some testing. He was ready. Then he wasn't ready for a cyber attack, or at least not a cyber attack of that scale. So if you point out some of these things to your boss who won't negotiate, at least you've done some things to defensively defend why you think it's going to take more time, so that if it does go bad or go poorly, you have some very good examples of, well, I warned you it might not scale because we didn't get time to test it. I warned you that we weren't fully tested for cyber attacks. You've mentioned that because the deadline was so short, we had to cut some things out. Well, sometimes cutting some things out has consequences. And as long, I've always felt as long as I've documented those and brought those up to the boss when they happen, even though I do everything I can to mitigate that and make sure it doesn't happen, at least then I can go to the boss. This is why I needed the extra 4 weeks. He or she may not care because they're a boss. They just pound. But I can go to sleep at night saying, well, and that's because you're a boss, not a humane leader. You didn't listen to me, the expert. There's nothing else I could have done. He may still fail me. He may still fire me. He still may lay me off. But at least I did everything I could to defend my team and prepare the boss for the bad news. He still may be a bad boss, but at least I did the things that are within my control.
Agree, I totally agree. And all these specific points are equal to quality. If you deliver fast and there won't be a time for quality. And the thing is, it doesn't matter if it's IT, if it's sales, if it's finance, the quality will decrease. And when you hit quality, there will be higher costs trying to fix the problems that you couldn't foresee or you couldn't attack when it was this unrealistic date set up. And I think one thing that is also as important within the team and within the quality are the sense of that is this going to be repeated again in the future? Because we spoke that maybe a boss is going to be away in an amount of time. But what if this boss sticks because his or her plan didn't work and he doesn't rise or she doesn't rise what's going to happen is going to be the same, because people with a specific agenda will try to do it again. What it will do is go with the CEO or with the VP and say, hey, my team can do it. And he or she won't even ask us if it's possible. So we had to be prepared for this. And we as human leaders had to prepare our team. And not what I mean prepare is not to trade them, but to be aware of this situation and what we could do if something happens in the future. I'm not trying to have anxiety over here, trying to foresee something at the future. But what I'm trying to do is to, as you mentioned before, at first, shielding the team of what is going to happen or what could happen and act accordingly. And for that, I will do a post-mortem about the project that we just delivered. Okay, what happened correctly? What happened negatively? What we could have done if a new project arises with maybe the same conditions. And with that, with the whole team communicating, it will be much easier for the next project if it arises, if it comes, to go over it. Maybe you could say, okay, of the 5 team members, we work day and night. Okay, I will split it. If this happens, team player A and B, you will work at night. The other ones will work at day, and we could split it so there could be a balance between all the team members. And this is some proposals. Let's hear how the team thinks and communicates and have ideas. And with that in mind, we could be better prepared than having another surprise. Oh man, again.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I never feel you should lie to your team as a humane leader. There may be times, again, we've spoken before about secrets, where HR tells you there is going to be a layoff, right? You can't tell your team until HR says it's okay. It's just one of those things. Being a humane leader or a boss, sometimes there are secrets you cannot disclose. But sometimes there's information like how bad the boss above you is. Sometimes you don't tell the team everything because it isn't going to help the situation. They may be really bad. They may be swearing at you and every one-to-one about the performance of the project and getting things done. You don't necessarily need to share that with the team. You may tell the team that, it's a very tenuous situation, that the boss above is under a lot of pressure and he's really after you to perform. But you can be honest with them and say, my concern is they're going to think that we can deliver at this extra level. And let's suppose everybody's putting in 60 to 70 hour weeks during this crush. You can be honest with your team and say, look, I'm concerned that if the boss is just going to think that this is the new normal, that we're going to work 70 hours a week forever. And you can be honest and tell your team, look, I'm concerned about it. I am going to talk to my boss, who's being a boss, and tell them that this is not sustainable. For this special effort, we'll do everything we can. We'll put in the extra hours to make the deadline, but it's going to, the balance here of quality versus output is going to be that we're going to work a bunch of overtime, which in the United States, usually you're salaried, so you're not getting paid extra. That your pay is around about a 40-hour week. But if you work 60 or 70 for the next 8 weeks, the company says thanks, but you're not getting an extra penny for that. So if you communicate to your team, look, we need to be careful here, you can voice those concerns in a constructive way to the team so that they understand, hold it, the boss, because they're being a boss, comes back a second time with the next project doing the exact same thing. At some point, you've got to be the humane leader and say, look, we're going to take a lot of heat for this, but we're just going to have to do the best we can with 40 to 45 hours a week, because we can't sustain huge amounts of overtime forever. You just can't. And at some point, whether that's 4 weeks of it or 6 weeks of it, I don't know. But at some point, you have to recognize as a humane leader, you cannot push your team to do 60 hours of overtime forever.
Yeah, because the proper management of burnout, it is really important over here. There will be burnout by someone. It could be you as a humiliator, and you're not going to protect your team. And this boss, since you're out of the way, is going to go directly with them. One thing also really important is not to let your boss communicate directly with your team. It has to go everything through you. Otherwise, it will crumble. They will feel more pressure that it is really coming. The steam is going to be really, really higher. There will be, even though fights, not physical, but maybe verbal fights. So you try to lower it down. So you have to catch it and only, as you mentioned, not lying, but only mentioning what you could say, not trying to be in a urgency kind of way all the time. But yes, it is really important. I think what a human leader has taught me, a human leadership, excuse me, has taught me is that us as a team to deliver almost anything if we communicate within the team and say, can we do this? Yes, we can. But when there is no external influence, if there is someone saying all the time, okay, I wanted this blue and I want it now green, or I want this with instead of using a dumb example, instead of using Python, I want you to use .NET. No. Let us decide what's going on over here to deliver, not you. So,
yep. Yeah, no, I agree. And I have seen there is some level of communication that always takes place through the organization through all levels. But in general, when the leadership above you starts to meddle in the day-to-day activities of the team, it generally does not go well.
oh yeah. That's why it exists the Scrum Agile methodology in engineering teams. So the other people won't mess with us.
Very good.
Yes, sir. Well, I think with this, which maybe we can end this podcast for today.
Absolutely. It was good talking to you. It's an interesting topic, and hopefully the economic climate stays good for you.
For all of us. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.